Well, pleased to be joined by my next guest here, Xander Schauffele, four-time winner on the PGA Tour. And Xander, well, what's going on today? How are you?
Good, good. Thanks for having me. Just happy to be back in the warmer part of California, San Diego.
And real quick, aesthetically, I noticed if you can turn your camera to the side, like can you do the horizontal so we could see just a little more of where you're at? It helps. Oh, now we got your profile picture, your slow-mo. Oh, there you go. That's better.
There we go. This is just a little tent here back on the range, but that is the sun. No fog. It's about 60, 68, starting to get sweaty.
Spoiled Southern California weather, man. You lucky bum. So are you back now? Did you move it back to straight up?
Yeah, I'm good, I think.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, yeah, just wanted to ask you, we're coming off of another major championship, another close call for you, a good run there in San Francisco. What was kind of your takeaway from the week there?
Seemingly close at one point, not close at all at the end. It was exciting for a bit. I did not think, in all honesty, someone would get to 13, but I guess that's just how good everyone is these days. And it was a pretty big win by Colin there. How he did it, pretty nice fashion with the leaderboard as well. So I was chasing for a while. I thought I could have gotten to about 11, I think, on Sunday if I made a few putts inside 10 feet. Obviously, I made a lot of putts outside, but just like a 3-footer, a 7-footer, 9 or 10-footers, a couple of them. So it's one of those rounds you really have to be special. But I think as far as I would have gotten is maybe 11. So it wouldn't have been enough to win anyways. And I guess that makes me feel a little more at ease in a sense.
Well, sure, I can understand that for sure. And well, you're talking about missing certain putts, and you have, of course, a memory of what it was like on Sunday. How do you deal with that? And it's a big event. You've been in the mix so much in the majors, but how do you deal with some of those missed opportunities as you look back on them?
Yeah, it's become easier, I guess, with no fans. It's sort of like you're not in a practice round. Obviously, everyone's trying to win, and it's a little more intense. But the feeling of majors I've had in the past versus this one now is you're kind of to yourself and with your caddy, and you don't really think about what you did. You're just excited to get to the next hole, which is the same when there are fans or crowds, but you do maybe feel worse when you miss a 3-footer in front of a bunch of people, or they'll let you hear it, or there's just more emotion involved when there's a lot of people out there, and you hear the roars. There's more to deal with, and so I think it's bouncing back without fans seems easier, just purely based on the fact that it's quiet and it's kind of serene, and there's not really a whole lot going on.
Definitely. Different atmosphere. I mean, I was out there as well, just seeing how crazy it was. What do you make? We had a recent announcement from Augusta National that said that there will be no patrons, no fans at the Masters. What is that going to be like? This is, you've gone through major championship now already, but still, this is the Masters. This is where you had seen you down the stretch. You were so much of that part of that story last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's awesome. I think when you think of Augusta and the Masters, you think of many things, but anywhere from Tiger's red on Sunday to just a bunch of people yelling is sort of what I remember watching on TV. And so when you're out there, you want that. You want sort of what you dreamt of to be a reality out there, which it was for me, kind of being in the hunt there Sunday with the roars and Tiger playing well and all the above. So it was very dramatic, and it's going to be different. It's going to be quiet. It's going to be eerie. It just seems like you hear a lot more stuff than you should when there's no fans, if that makes sense. Anything from like another ball hitting a green, if you're on a tee box, to a maintenance or media guy dropping something out of a cart from 200 yards away. It's funny how all of us seem to have mouse ears now that there's no one out there versus kind of the white noise of crowds. But I think everyone's just happy that we'll be able to compete at the Masters this year versus not, and we'll just kind of see how it goes.
Well, it's such a tournament we all love. I mean, as players, as fans, ourselves on TV, whatever. It's just such a huge one. You were right there, you down the stretch on 17 in the mix, really needing to make birdie there to really stay in it with Tiger. Then you also, after you didn't finish maybe the way you wanted, you saw the reaction to Tiger and the crowd reaction and him with his son, and you were right there with him. You said congratulations to him going into the scoring area. What was that melee like?
It was a great sporting moment, I would say. In any sport, I guess that would be sort of, especially for our game, very historic. And it was just cool to, as weird as it sounds, just to be a part of it. You know, I was competing, trying to win, and didn't, and I just couldn't be happier. Selfishly, it's good for golf. It's good for me that he won, even though I didn't win. Looking at a brighter note, but it just how cool it was to see him embrace his kid, kind of like how he embraced his dad. I'm obviously close with my dad, so I kind of know how special of a moment, you know, that would be if it were to ever happen.
Oh yeah, yeah, you played so well in the majors. I want to ask you about that. Especially, you had final pairing experience with Jordan Spieth in the 2018 Open Championship in Carnoustie. You had a putt there on, I believe it was 16, just horseshoed out. Had that gone in, maybe we're talking about a playoff with Molinari. Maybe if you birdie 18 at that point, maybe you win outright. I mean, just so many little things. But what is it for you? I mean, how hungry are you to get that first major, being that you've been right there?
Yeah, I think I'm very hungry. You know, I'm trying to stick to sort of the pillars that got us there. You know, watching Colin win is obviously very fast and makes, I think, all the young guys wake up a little and make us a little more hungry. You know, this kid just came out and managed to do it second go around. Why can't we do it? So I think he's definitely, you know, put the younger guys on watch in terms of, you know, hunger to win majors even more now than before, just because it is sort of, you know, as our sport's gone on, majors are sort of the tournament that, you know, you got to be at the right age, you got to do the right things, you got to pay your dues, and now you have this kid come out and win his second one, doesn't really care what everyone else thinks, which is kind of how we all think. He's just managed to muster up and do it versus talking about it. So pretty hungry, and like I said, just going to try and stick to my process and what's made me play well in majors, and not really get ahead of anything, and just kind of stick to what I do best.
What have you learned about yourself, your game? Because I know I remember I walked with you and Cameron Champ there in 2017 at the U.S. Open at Erin Hills.
Mm.
Just killed it that first day and really got into the mix. You've been such a big part of these majors. What have you really learned and taken away as we go forward here?
Yeah, I mean, they're harder tournaments to win for sure, usually based on setup. So I feel like I have an advantage in those big tournaments just based on the course playing harder, conditions playing harder. Just I kind of sorry, I got a phone call here. I kind of like to play on harder golf courses. Typically, you know, I'll kind of shy away from a week where 25 under wins, just because it's not really my cup of tea. Not that I don't think I can do it. I would rather try and grind out, you know, pars and bogeys if I have to on a harder golf course. So, you know, I think I've just learned that I'm comfortable in these bigger spotlights, and whatever my team is doing to get me ready, it seems to work. And even though we haven't had, you know, the ultimate success, we've had a little, and there's sort of no reason to really change what we're doing, and kind of just stay the course, and we should be good to go.
Yeah, you're talking about being comfortable. Are you comfortable if you did move the screen sideways? Is that cool with you, just for the look on video? Is
that better?
Yeah, that looks great, man. I appreciate you being flexible.
No worries.
Well, speaking about your team, your caddy, Austin Kaiser, of course, a fellow Aztec. What is it like to have him on the bag? How cool is that, obviously, here as pro?
Yeah, it's comforting. You know, it's we've our relationship's grown along with the work that we've done together. And starting off, it was a lot more of a comforting thing. I wasn't very good, and he wasn't a very good caddy just because he's never really done it. And I was a rookie, so we sort of made all our mistakes together. And I was aware that caddies are variables out on tour, and I wanted to make sure that variable for my team was constant. So, we've both made mistakes early that were costly, but we both learned from them. And, I figured if we kind of stay the course, just like I said before, we'll be able to succeed in the long run. And I feel pretty fortunate to have him by my side.
And of course, you had him by your side at the President's Cup, playing for Tiger Woods, Captain Tiger Woods. Tell me what you're going to always remember about that President's Cup.
Just, it is Tiger Woods, and definitely an idol growing up, I'd say. And it was just cool to see how relaxed, and he was really able to communicate with all of us, I think. And even though I'm much younger than he is, I picked on him for being old all the time, the whole week. And he was so cool about, telling us stories. And I got to know him a little bit better. We both did sort of our physio work kind of late at night after everyone else was done, just due to scheduling with other players. And so it was sort of our physios and myself and Tiger kind of, either jumping in and out of the ice bath or just kind of getting worked on. And we sort of, we're hanging out and kind of shooting the shit, I guess, and kind of got to know each other better. And he's just a really, really chill dude. And you can tell I wouldn't say he's at the back end of his career, but he's definitely, his values have changed. He's kind of a family man now, and he's more relatable than he used to be. And, he may have been a miserable captain 20 years ago in his prime competing days, you know what I mean? But he was just so cool, and made it really fun for me in my first appearance.
Well, you mentioned making fun of him for his age. I mean, here are ice boxes, different things to heal up. So what's an example of how you would poke fun at Tiger? Because, I mean, the guy's 43 at that point.
Yeah,
about to be 44.
just waking up, he just was slow to get off the table. And, he is an athlete, one of the few golfers that are actually athletes, I'd say, is Tiger. But that's why I probably pick on him even more. I mean, his body's been through the ringer, and it takes him longer to warm up and kind of cool down and get going. And, he's not a spring chicken anymore. So that was sort of the way I'd pick on him. Just, nothing too offensive. He still was a captain, and I had to show some respect here and there, but I didn't shy away from dishing out a little bit.
You got to needle, and you got to be able to take it too. I mean, did you have to take any fire from him or no?
Yeah, I was a rookie. The hazing ritual wasn't very bad at all, but it was funny. We had to do a few honeydews throughout the tournament in terms of grabbing someone's shoes or carrying someone's bag or doing something kind of ridiculous, but it wasn't very bad. So the needling was all in fun, and it was a really good time.
Did you have to grab like a bag for one of the veterans, or which?
Yeah, it was just funny because Gary Woodland we had a couple rookies, and obviously me being young, I was very much a rookie because I'm young, but shocked that Gary was a rookie as well. Obviously with his resume, you would imagine he wouldn't be, but Kuchar was giving Gary a hard time, making him grab his bag and stuff. It was just funny. I mean, everyone on the team got along so well just because we know each other from playing out on the road, and it was a pretty cool thing to be part of that team.
And that's great that you talk about the camaraderie, the closeness of the teams. The Ryder Cup, of course, was such a goal, I know, for you. And I know you were in the car going to the airport in Chicago. This is what your caddy Austin told me when you guys got the call from Captain Furyk 2 years ago. Said, hey, I'm going to pick someone else. We're going to pick Tony Finau. How have you taken that as motivation here as you prepare and look ahead ultimately to getting on a Ryder Cup?
Yeah, always. I try to look at the brighter side. Maybe not instantly, but at the end of the day, I'll, when I go to bed, it usually is the brighter way to look at it. But I wasn't shocked at all. I felt I knew if I won that tournament at Aronimink, I would have had a really good chance of getting on the team, and I didn't. I had my chance. I think I lipped out a putt on the last to get into a playoff. So I was right there, and I was close, and I just didn't do enough. Tony was just a bulldog that year, and it was hard to compete when he just didn't know how to not top 3 in any tournament he played in. So Tony's one of my good friends, and I was, texting him. I was happy for him, and I told Jim I understood, and like you said, yeah, just added to the fire and made me realize, just make it easy on yourself and make sure you're not a pick. Just leave yourself out of the picking loop and just qualify naturally, and then you don't need to dodge or avoid these phone calls that are kind of awkward. And I think I don't know, I honestly have no idea with the Ryder Cup now. I know it got canceled, obviously, but I don't, with the qualifying system, I think I would have been in if it was occurring right now. And of course I got put back. So I just got to put my head back down and keep competing and make sure I protect my spot on the team.
I hear you there for sure. Yeah, it's such a coveted team to be on. You mentioned, of course, Austin, your caddy, and then of course Tony Finau. So many friends you've made on the tour as a pro. But the game of golf, I love the friendships, the lasting relationships we all make from the game. Who else comes to mind as some people you're like, wow, I've met these people through this game? Maybe from France or from Ireland or other countries.
Yeah, I guess my background's fairly international. Playing on the U.S. tour, there aren't a whole lot. We do have a few Brits out on tour that I've, played with and competed against. But in terms of like practice rounds, I'll play, kind of typically I like to play by myself unless I'm sort of playing a game, but I sort of try to stick to myself and my team sort of in preparation. Obviously playing a team event made me closer to all the guys that were on that team that week, just in terms of seeing each other in locker to on the course or anywhere. We kind of have that bond that we shared and that will never be forgotten. So that's kind of a cool thing to have versus not having it all. And but for the most part, I'd say I haven't really gotten too close to anybody. Kind of just, it is an individual sport, and we do have our own teams, and everyone's trying to compete. I'd say I'm friendly with many guys on tour, just in like a working relationship type deal, I guess. But in terms of like getting dinner and hanging out, I sort of kind of stick to my guns and kind of hang out with my own team. I don't really go out to too many like player dinners, stuff like that. I kind of keep it at the course, have lunch with some of the guys and breakfast, but for the most part, kind of try to be a loner, I guess.
Do some rapid fire questions here. Favorite non-golf sports event you've watched ever?
Does it have to be in person, or can it be televised?
That can be either or.
Very entertaining. Probably NBA championship finals, I'd say. Can't remember which year it was. It was probably Cleveland and Golden State. It was one of the dramatic. Probably one. Austin's a huge LeBron fan, so whenever we used to room together a lot, and he'd always have the games on, and not that I didn't want to watch it, but that was probably it.
Man, yeah. 2016 was the year that they came back from the 3-1 deficit. Favorite moment you've had watching your beloved San Diego Aztecs play football or basketball, where you've been in person?
When they beat, who was it? It was probably when they went to Kansas, I'd say. Watching that one was pretty cool when Kansas was, top 5 team, top 10 team probably.
When you're totally unplugged from golf, Xander, and we're talking about like just not even an off week, just like totally unplugged, what's your favorite way to spend your time?
With my girlfriend and my dogs. In this day and age, it's become very much a dog and girlfriend, whether going to the beach or taking them out and letting them run around. It's sort of a very relaxing thing for me to do.
Gotcha. What are a couple of your favorite public golf courses that we can all play?
Torrey Pines is up there. Probably Torrey Pines. I'd highly recommend to anyone.
Your go-to all-time favorite band or musician?
That is a great question. It's varied a lot. Used to listen to a lot of hip hop, gotten some older music. Something I can always listen to is timeless, probably Red Hot Chili Peppers. Something I can have on and it will not bother me or fire me up too much. It's very relaxing.
Yeah, that's a good one. What's the last series you've been binge watched?
I watched on Netflix. Gosh, what was it called? I'm pulling a blank on it. I just binge watched like 6 or 7 seasons of it. Blacklist. Sorry.
Oh, Blacklist.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
that was sort of the last thing I watched. It was sort of something that was nice for me to watch on the road. And it was kind of not much to think of.
I hear you, man. That's what it's all about, unplugging a little bit.
Yeah.
Listener questions here. At Ben Coley Golf says on Twitter, he wants to know about your regripping. You had mentioned that recently.
Yeah, the regripping, I've used to have more of a problem with it. Yeah, I said in my interview, sort of Sergio-esque. Wasn't even trying to knock on him, but I feel comfortable enough with Sergio now. I can kind of pick at him if I have to. But it was sort of my right hand I was trying to make weaker, which is sort of more over the club. Kind of get my hand more over the club this way, I guess. And so it just felt very uncomfortable, and I kept trying to put it more and more over, and it kept sliding a little stronger, and I kept putting it more and more over, and it was sliding stronger, and so I had a really hard time pulling the trigger, feeling comfortable with the grip being weaker.
Also, another question at Mr. Aaron _Ray said, a lot of tournaments you almost win. You mentioned punting wasn't quite there, wasn't quite good enough to get it done. At least that was his observation. Is there anything you've adjusted there, the last recent few months here?
Yeah. I mean, nothing crazy, kind of just going back to some older sort of feels, I guess. I kind of went back to my old putter that I was using that I won in Hawaii and China with since this quarantine. It's kind of same shaft, same grip, same everything. Different putter face material, but kind of went back to an old friend, and I've been using it since Colonial. So it's been, my putting was really poor pre-quarantine, and since we've come out of quarantine, it's been much better.
Mark Rolfing, as you know from NBC Golf Channel, has a question. How did your upbringing prepare you for the mental toughness to get to where you are now?
Yeah, my dad being my swing coach, my mental coach, my manager, dad, kind of a bunch of different hats, caddy at one point. I think that sort of taught me to be more patient. He was the patient one for a very long time, and his patience rubbed off on me in terms of kind of teaching me and helping me understand, when I was going through puberty and being a punk and all that stuff. And he stuck it through, and basically his life lessons that he had to learn sort of the hard way have rubbed off on me and have made me sort of appreciate everything and have a little more gratitude. So definitely my dad sort of, and my international upbringing from my mom as well, being Taiwanese, born in Japan, sort of bringing that whole respect aspect to the table and teaching me to be more calm and how to handle things kind of internally initially, and then kind of my dad helping me let it out naturally was sort of a good combo for me to have. So I feel very blessed to have my parents.
Very last aspect of this interview, I want to ask you a little bit about, for us amateur golfers, what can we do to improve our pre-range warm-ups? And I know for you, you've got such a fluid swing, such good rhythm. How can we work on our rhythm best on the range?
That's a good question. Typically, I'd say the thing I see with amateurs a lot, and I understand it, golfing with your buddies is just fun to go out and golf with your buddies. But some sort of regimented stretching or warm-up activation, kind of anything you can do in the parking lot, whether you have sort of a heavy club or some sort of stretching pole or something to sort of fortunately I'm able to play golf for a living, so I have a physio that kind of helps me warm up, and I have two actually, one here in San Diego, one on the road, and they help me warm up and make sure my body's good. I understand that the average golfer does not want to have that, but if you can look up sort of stretches, golf stretches, there's a ton you can do standing up against your car before you hit any golf balls. I think that'll help the fluidity of your swing just because your muscles aren't as tight. and it'll also shorten your range time to where you feel like you need to sit there and find it before you play against your buddies.
Yeah, and that's on the range, understandable. What about the practice areas? As we've got so many options with bunkers and chipping. Like, what do you want to stress for us?
Uh, Typically short game related. I'd say, I mean, it depends how serious a golfer is. If you're just having a good time, then just make sure you have a good time. But if you're just trying to improve, I'd say it'd be good to sort of write down what you're really good at and write down what you're really bad at. And certain days when you're controlling the golf ball a little better than others, you can really avoid certain things that you're not good at. Or if maybe you want to hit your driver because you feel like you're hitting it good, but your driver is going to leave you in a number you're not very good at, of course, our stat guys on tour would tell us to hit the driver anyways, but I would recommend playing to your strengths is a very important thing and an easy way to sort of drop a lot of shots off your score. And then in your private time, you can kind of get a few lessons and work on, if you're not good out of the bunker, you can work on the bunker shots. But if you're if you're sitting there with a 3-wood in your hand, you're like, I got to hit this perfect to cover the bunker. The miss is going to be in the bunker, so might as well just kind of lay it out to the side and short of it and then chip up on the green. I know it sounds very lame, but if you're really trying to improve your score, that's one way to do it.
Yeah, and what about putting? Just so that we're as prepared as we can with the few minutes we have.
Yeah, I'd say for me, starting out when I was putting, I would always I'd find a straight putt. But in terms of that's too technical, I feel like the best way to do it is sort of hit a few short putts just to sort of get some confidence, hear the ball go in the hole. And then I would recommend hitting a lot of long putts. It's important to get the feel for the green in terms of speed. If your speed's good, even if your reads aren't great, if your read's close enough and your speed is good, the hole's a lot bigger versus you running it back and forth. And I've seen so many amateurs struggle with speed on the greens, and really it stresses them out, and it's not fun to have, those 3 or 4 footers coming back all day. So just hit a bunch of kind of long lag putts and get a feel for the speed of the greens if you only have, a couple minutes.
Good stuff. Well, Xander, hey, appreciate you jumping on Beyond the Clubhouse with me, and enjoy the rest of the season. We've got a couple majors coming up, the playoffs. I know you played pretty darn well at that playoff finale in the past. So good luck,
Looking
man.
forward to it. Yeah.